Hey there, this is Landon Bellum again with the Griffith Home Team at RE/MAX Professionals, and thanks again for tuning in to the Realty TV Podcast. Today we're going to talk about some things that are incredibly helpful and resourceful for buying a home in this market. It's a high-interest market, prices are high, and affordability, therefore, is very low. So we're going to navigate that and talk about how you can buy a home when affordability is a tricky issue for a lot of people out there. So today I've got with me Ryan Smiley. Ryan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Landon. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here today. So my name is Ryan Smiley. I also work on the Griffith Home Team with this fine gentleman here. Coming up on a year on the team now, which is pretty fun. I been in the real estate industry for a while as an agent, about 3 or 4 years now. And then prior to that, I worked in lending for 5 years. And then back in high school, I worked at the front desk of my local real estate office on the weekends. So you could say my tenure is long if you go all the way back there.
I didn't know that part. I knew that you were previously a mortgage broker or whatever, and then came into real estate the last few years around the time that I did. But,
Yep. On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, putting in MLS listings and booking open houses and showings.
Did you do that for a specific brokerage?
It was RE/MAX Northwest, which they're still around. I think they've gotten a little bit smaller over the years, but
nice. The first little foot in the door in the industry.
That's right.
Similar in a way where just kind of got my foot in the door doing a little bit of marketing for a house flipping company, and then from there the rest is history. So, and I love the fact, and that's why I kind of initially when I was looking back on our texts, I had a different topic in mind. But I was thinking about you recently, especially with your background in mortgages, and I was like, you know what? We could talk about some cool things when it comes to affordability, interest rate buy downs, concessions. And so I figured, and it is mine as well. You and I both have helped a lot of first-time home buyers in the last couple of years buy homes in a very expensive market.
Yes.
And so I figured, especially with the financing background, we could get into some details on programs and buy downs and concessions and things like that. So we'll get there in a second. Okay, and before we really get into the meat of the podcast, I always give a little teaser for the houses and horrors section, and so I'll give a little couple sentence teaser, and then we'll get into it'll be the last segment of the podcast.
Cool.
But mine, I just showed you guys my phone. Jesse's behind the camera over there. There was a little whoopsie where I was helping some buyers of mine who just purchased a home, closed and everything. Everything was super smooth, amazing. And I was like, hey, I've got a great painter. Let me, get that set up, and I can help you with not only that, but handyman stuff. I'll just get it all coordinated. You guys are out of the state. Let me help.
Yeah.
And accidentally switched up the paint colors, so the house was painted the wrong color. So I just showed you guys on my phone the $3,000.
Cheap fix.
Fix that I just had to Venmo over to get this done. So we'll talk about that. That was a pretty big teaser, but again, what do you got? I know you've had, there's been some ones this year.
Well, I think it's only fitting that I would choose one that partially involves lending, in which case the lender screwed up and I had to go buy a grinder.
A grinder?
Yes, like an industrial grinder for metal bars, but we'll dive further into that later.
Yeah, that's a great highlight because I have no idea what that's going to look like. Awesome. I love it. So, okay, well, let's just get into it and talk about where we're at right now in today's world, today's market.
Yes.
I pulled up some stats, and between 2019 and 2023, the house prices in Colorado, depending on the area, increased anywhere from 37 to 40 to even 55%.
Yeah, that's about right.
So what is that, like a 2, 3, 4 year time frame?
Yep.
House prices went up 55% in some areas.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
Depends on which side you're on, huh?
Depending on what side you're on. If you owned a home in that time, or if you bought a home in 2019, 2020, excellent. Or if you were living in a home that you've already had a ton of equity in, super awesome.
Yeah.
What was also really interesting about that time was interest rates were
nothing.
2%, 3%. Were you lending at that time frame?
I wasn't lending at that time frame.
You were in
refinances were booming, and it was great.
Yes.
Until it wasn't.
Yes.
Until the rates then hit 8, and then it died.
And I think they peaked around October of 2023 at 8%.
Yep.
So the difference there, I asked some AI software here, what's the difference in buyer purchasing power with that, where you have substantial difference. You have house prices increasing by 30 to 50%.
Right.
And then you have rates going up from 2% to 8%. What's the difference? So this is just, and this isn't obviously run through legitimately by a mortgage broker. This was just quick research online, but just as an example, the difference in Colorado in your purchasing power, let's say you made $100,000 as your household income in 2019 versus and then you made the same in 2023, $100,000, nothing changed.
Right.
Your purchasing power could be the difference of 105%.
Yes.
Difference.
Yeah.
So what, did you experience anything? Were you working with people that experienced that? Were like, what the heck just happened? I can't find what I thought I could.
It's funny because backing up a little bit with rates is that there's not like a going interest rate, right? It's not like, hey, this is your rate today, and it's applying to everybody. The interest rates are deduced by like 17, 18 different factors. So my interest rate's different than yours, different than my neighbor's, than my boss. It just varies. And then on
score, down payment,
100%,
FHA, whatever. Yeah.
And then on top of that, rates change about as quickly as the wind does, right? It's almost traded like stocks and bonds, where you might have a day where it doesn't change that much, but it still changes like every other minute, right?
Yeah.
It varies. So you have that, but then when you jump from like, 2-3% all the way to 8%, I mean, in terms of payment, you're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in difference in terms of purchasing power, right? Which when you're talking about purchasing power, especially with a loan, you don't really care about price. You care about monthly payment.
Yes.
Right. If you're at an interest rate of 2% and your maximum monthly payment's $3,000, right? That $3,000 doesn't change when the interest rate goes up. It just means you can afford less of a house. So when we saw that big swing, it just knocked a lot of buyers out of the market.
Yes.
And it also kept a lot of sellers on the sidelines because they're like, hey, I have a 2-3% interest rate. Why would I give that up to go and, buy another house at 8%?
Potentially an inferior house and still have the same payment that I have in this house.
Exactly. And then we had this really long stint where nobody wanted to sell and nobody wanted to buy, and so you had to get creative, which I think was good because it opened up a lot of different scenarios. It brought 2-to-1 buy downs back, which everybody thought was new. Now it's existed through like the 70s, 80s. It's just we weren't using it.
Yes.
You didn't need to. So it brought about a lot of creative solutions, and now we're getting back to a market where, the interest rates are trickling back down. It's kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type. But then you also have more people getting away from this whole recency bias of remembering, oh man, 3% interest rates. Now we're looking at the past few years and being like, okay, 6-7% is average. If I can get in the 5s, that's a good day.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now is every once in a while over the past couple of weeks, we have a day where it hits the 5s and I'm like, but I lock on this day. This is the day to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, and just to kind of piggyback off of that too, it was crazy because you could have someone literally their income didn't change and they're they just maybe didn't find the right fit at the beginning of 2022. And then by the beginning of 2023, all of a sudden they perhaps could have qualified for an $800,000 home. And now maybe it's a $700,000 home and nothing changed.
Nothing.
Besides the interest rate. That's
just
the only variable that changed. The down payment is the same. Their income's the same. Their credit score is the same.
100%.
All these variables that you say make a big difference in your financial ability to qualify and your purchasing power. Nothing changed besides the interest rates. And all of a sudden, the house that you can buy is literally hundreds of thousands or at least tens of thousands less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is crazy.
It is.
But,
it is.
But that's setting the stage.
Yes.
For what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I might have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but there was somebody from high school that I haven't really talked to in forever, but years ago when I first got into real estate, this person made the post on Facebook that said, the American dream of home ownership is dead. It's impossible to buy a home as a first-time home buyer in this day and age.
Yeah.
And I remember I commented on it and I probably said, like, I don't think that's the case. I've actually helped, multiple people buy homes for the first time in 2023 this year, like multiple people this year.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is within a year, he makes a new post.
Yeah.
He or she makes a new post that is in front. He's got the keys to the new house. I'm so happy I bought my first home. And it's possible. And it is. Even though we're setting the stage with, hey, it's hard. Maybe it's not hard, but it's different. And if you reset your expectations, recalibrate, you can definitely achieve it.
And going off of that, I mean, there's nobody who teaches you this stuff in school, right? There's no class that's like, here's how to buy your first house. Here's the steps. So it's really daunting, especially when interest rates are higher and prices are higher. And it's just daunting. I get it from a first-time homebuyer approach. It's like, what are the steps? How do I get there? Like, where do I start? You know what I mean? And that's why you want to work with experienced people, lending, real estate,
gotta have
and all those arenas. You want to have people that actually know what they're doing. because that's the make or break difference between having a good experience and a terrible experience, and maybe scarring people from ever buying home again.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. 100%.
And so that's I think the biggest thing as agents that we need to be just the best at is just help guide people through that process, especially when it's their first time. And the first house is the hardest. Once you get one,
you're in the
just
game.
sit back, get some equity, and then you can leverage that for a variety of different things. If you want rentals, you can get rentals. If you want to use that to put money back in the house 3-5 years down the road when you've acquired $50,000, $100,000 in equity. And there's a lot of options. And especially with interest rates being high right now, if the interest rates drop, not only can you reduce your monthly payment, you're also getting a lot more equity. When interest rates fall, houses generally go up because that buying power that we talked about originally, it changes.
It just shifted. Everyone who's on the fence waiting for things to get more affordable hops in the market.
Exactly.
More people in the market, more demand.
Bingo. Shoots it up.
Shoots it up.
Exactly. So it's kind of the reverse where it's like, hey, everything's the same, but now I can afford more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We were talking about how you can afford less, when the rates go up, and when the rates go down, it's vice versa. Yeah, exactly.
And I love that. And I think if there's anything that I can say just to tie up this first segment, is the news would have you believe that it's impossible to buy a home. It's not worth buying a home. It's too risky to buy a home. The market's going to crash because all those things are scary, and the scary stuff sells.
Fear-based viewership.
Yeah.
They make more money that way.
They do. And they're going to sell what sells. And if it's going to be the scary stuff, it's fear-based. But if there's anything I can say is that real estate, it's a long-term game.
Yes.
You get in the game, you buy and hold, you sit and you watch it work its wonders.
Yes.
So
along those lines, you go back to the worst housing crisis in 2007. You bought a house at the height of the market in 07 before the crash, and you held to like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Your house is worth more.
Yeah, and that's not even that long of a time.
It's not even that long of a time. And granted, some people had to sell and you lost jobs. But if you bought at the height and you held, your house was worth more.
Yep.
And that's how it's been historically. You look at a graph of prices of homes. Yeah, you have some stints where it goes down. 5 years or more, your house is almost always worth more than what you paid for it originally.
Despite having bought when it was at the peak.
Bingo.
So,
so
good. Well, that's actually a perfect transition into the good part about prices being high and interest rates being high for the home prices. Historically, whatever people say, but interest rates aren't that high. Mine was an 18%. Well, also, your home was $60,000.
$30,000.
Yeah, it's different. It's just apples and oranges there. But prices are high, rates are high in comparison to what we've seen in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
What that is giving right now is a ton of leverage to buyers.
For sure.
Why don't you tell me what you've seen in terms of buyers?
For leverage. So leverage is in a lot of different forms here. But like we talked about earlier, when rates are higher and your affordability appears to be decreasing, you have to get creative. Yes. And that's what we've done, is we've gotten creative, whether it be through seller concessions or buy downs or a few different scenarios that you can utilize. And then within buy downs, you have multiple different kinds of buy downs, right? Between 2-to-1s or permanents or, and then you have different loan types. So you can look at a 7-year ARM. I mean, there's so many varieties of ways to make things more affordable.
Fine tune it to you. What do you need?
Tailor it.
Let's get creative. It's tailored to your needs.
Yeah.
And so let's break that down.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
We'll start there.
You mentioned something that you and myself included, we have used probably on 75% of deals recently, which for buyers at least. And we see them on 75% of deals.
Bake it in.
With our sellers, we bake it in, is seller concessions.
Bingo.
Most people aren't going to know what that means.
Yes.
What is a seller concession?
So essentially what a seller concession is funds that you can ask for as the buyer coming out of the seller's proceeds or equity in the house, so you can use that to your advantage. So a lot of people, when they're buying houses, especially first-time home buyers, don't have a ton of extra cash. They don't have this nest egg that they have sitting aside. And if they do have it, you're using that for down payment to offset your loan stuff. What you can do is you can use a seller concession for any prepaids or closing costs, which big one right now is rate buy downs, right? That can help with the affordability piece, where if you're right on the edge, where you're like, I'm qualified for a $600,000 house, but this is $625,000, using the seller's money to buy down your interest rate can get you to, like, let's say to $650,000 now. That opens up your world a little bit, right? So it opens up your affordability. And even let's say you qualify for $625,000, but you want to reduce your payment anyways, which why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Take the seller concessions and use it. Generally, it's hard to ask for seller concessions if the house is brand spanking new to the market.
Yeah.
Right? Because the seller doesn't really want to give up equity if they don't have to. And if they just put it on the market, they're not going to want to take an extra hit.
For the same reason that if it's one day on the market and you're coming in 20,000 below their asking price, it's the same thing.
Right.
They're taking a hit on their equity.
Yes.
They would probably just say, oh, we're not really ready to take a hit. It's the first weekend.
No, they want to scope it out, play the field, see if they have any of their interest. But when you start getting to 20, 30, 40, 60, 90 days on the market, these sellers are starting to get a little antsy where they're like, hey, just bring us an offer. We want to sell the house. Bring us an offer. Yeah. So you can go to them and say, look, hey, we'll give you, let's say $5,000 under asking, but we also want $10,000 so we can do rate buy downs or offset our closing costs. So you don't have to bring as much to closing, and you can utilize that. So much so that I would almost say it's more important to ask for seller concessions than get a cheaper price on the house. For example, let's say you're looking at a $600,000 house. You could come in at $590,000 and it might reduce your monthly payment by $50 a month. Or you can buy it at $600,000, ask for $10,000 in concessions, which to the seller is the same thing. They're netting $590 regardless. But you can use that $10,000. Let's say you buy your interest rate down 0.5%. Now you're saving $300-400 a month instead of $50, and you make back that $10,000 a lot quicker doing it that way.
Yeah, you do, especially in the short term. And so, and this is what I've been asking my buyers is, hey, what is your pain point in this market right now? Are you the type of person, and I give them like 3 scenarios. Are you the type of person that really wants to buy a home, but you're really concerned about monthly payments?
Right.
Well, concessions is the answer.
Huge.
We're going to get some concessions and use the seller's money to buy your interest rate down.
100%.
Are you the type of person that really wants to buy a home? You've got good income coming in. You're not as concerned about monthly payments, but you're more concerned about having a big down payment or having like all these closing costs. Just you don't have as much cash ready on hand. Great. Seller concessions, also the answer. Because now we can use that seller money to pay for your closing costs. And they'll have to pay for their own as well.
Bingo.
And then thirdly, do you just care about having, the smallest amount of loan possible over whatever 30 years or whatever your loan is? Okay, then let's just knock it off the price. If you're not monthly payment conscious and you've got a lot of money, you don't care about closing costs and out of pocket, then let's just knock it off the price. But if you're in the bucket A or bucket B, I 100% agree. Seller concessions for a rate buy down or for closing costs is a lot more valuable, especially in the short term, like the next 5 years.
And you can get them right now. That's the thing.
Almost win every time.
You go back the past 3 years when it's been just a heavily seller's market. There was no inventory. I mean, you'd have to come in over asking. There's no way you're asking the sellers for cash when they have 12 other offers that are all above asking. I mean, you weren't able to get the seller concessions. But now that we're in a market where houses are sitting for longer, you have more inventory. We're up 300% year over year inventory. You have options to leverage the seller's cash to your advantage. And then the interest rates fall in the next 2 years, boom, you refinance. You're good to go. And you don't feel bad about, oh, well, I had to buy the interest rate down because you weren't using your money. You were using the seller's money to do it. It's free money.
And well, let's get into that too, because there's some cool things. So closing costs is pretty simple. You say, hey, seller, we're going to buy your house and we want you to pay us $10,000. We don't want you to drop the price $10K. Pay us $10K at closing. Boom, all your closing costs wiped out.
Done deal.
That's easy. Now, where it gets really creative and really interesting is, hey, seller, we're monthly payment conscious. We want an interest rate buy down. We want you to pay us $10K. And that's where you can give that $10K to the lender and say, hey, we got our offer signed. We're under contract. We close on this date. We have $10,000 to play with. What's going to be the best for us? And you mentioned most of them. You get you could just permanently buy your rate down with that $10K. Hey, take all this $10,000 mortgage broker, and I want you to buy my rate down permanently for 30 years. Or you can do temporary buy downs, which tend to have they have a bigger effect over a shorter amount of time.
Correct.
So why don't you break those down for us?
So kind of like what you were saying. So when we talk about buy downs, people are like, well, what is a buy down? So back up and talk about what a buy down is. When it comes to your interest rate, from a lending perspective, what your interest rate is an assessment of risk. The lender is looking at your situation and saying, how risky of a borrower are you? And the lower interest rate you get, the less risky your scenario looks like, right? Higher credit, maybe lower, amounts of other debt that you have, whatever that looks like. To them, you being less risky means you get a better interest rate. So along those lines, we now have interest rate as an assessment of risk. If you go to the lender and say, hey, I'll give you an extra $10,000 if you drop my rate a little bit more, they see that as non-risky behavior. And they say, okay, yeah, If you're willing to give us 10 grand up front, that's you're less risky. We'll give you a lower rate. And so that's what buying down the rate is incentivizing these lenders to give you a lower rate by giving them cash up front. With a permanent buy down, you're buying it down for the entirety of the loan, like you talked about. Now we have something different, which is like these temporary buy downs, and they're 3-2-1, 2-1, 1-0, whatever. What those numbers mean up front is how low you're buying the interest rate down and for what time period. Most common one is called a 2-1 buy down. What that looks like is, let's say the interest rate is 6% right now. If you did a 2-1 buy down, your first year's interest rate is 4%. Second year's interest rate is 5%, right? So you go 2 on the first year, 1 on the second year, and then years 3 through 30, it just stays at 6. So it's not overly risky where it's like your interest rate's going to keep going up. There's a cap, and it's whatever the interest rate is today. It's a little bit different, though, in that whoever's servicing your loan doesn't get 4% the first year, 5% the second year, and then 6% throughout. They're getting 6% the whole time, but you're only paying 4% of that 6% year 1, and you're paying 5 out of that 6% year 2. Where that extra 2 and 1% is coming from is that buy down amount. So you imagine this imaginary bucket where they collect 2% times 12 months plus 1% times 12 months. They take that money and they put it in this bucket. And every month they take a little bit out of the bucket until it's empty after your 2 years, if you're doing a 2-to-1 buy down. The beautiful part is, let's say interest rates drop substantially in the next couple months and you just did that 2-to-1. If you were to refinance and just refi into that lower rate, whatever's left in this imaginary bucket comes back to you and directly applies right to your principal. So you're never going to lose this bucket if you refinance early. With a permanent buy down, you paid it, it's gone. You're not getting any of that back by refinancing, which is why it's important to use the seller's money to do that.
Yes,
because then it's not really a waste. Exactly, because you've been using the seller's cash. But the same thing applies with the 2-to-1 buy down. You don't really want to use your own money for a 2-to-1 buy down because what you're going to be saving is exactly to the penny what the 2-to-1 buy down is costing you. So essentially, you're just borrowing money from the seller to make your payments cheaper for 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it is, right? But you're not going to lose it if you refinance early. So there's not like this, oh man, should I refinance or should I wait till the end of the 2? As soon as that interest rate that's currently out there gets below whatever you're at, refinance, take the rest of the money out of the bucket and put it into your principal. So you don't lose it, which is
that was a phenomenal breakdown. Very, it's almost like
I did a couple of these loans. Funny thing is when the 2-to-1s really started coming back, I was in the lending world and we had a similar approach to agents, which is, okay, things have changed. How do we get creative? And so the whole concept of 2-to-1s kind of came about, and I was like, I'm going to look into this. And I was kind of one of the first people in my mortgage company that started doing it. So much so that we got to the closing table, and the title people were like, hey, we don't know what this document is. And so I'd have to explain it to the title people too. Now it's become, everybody knows what it is.
It's the talk of the town.
But that was just getting creative at the time and figuring out how do we make things more affordable.
And that's how, like you alluded to this towards the beginning. You in this market, in this day and age, you have to have creative representation, both on the real estate side and on the mortgage side.
And on the lending side,
And that's what creative agents will do. That's what we do for our clients. Is, hey, what are your pain points? Okay, and we can ask you, hey, do you want to just have guaranteed better mortgage payments over the course of 30 years? Then great, let's do a permanent rate buy down. Let's get money from the seller to do it. Do you just want temporary relief because maybe your financial situation is going to improve in the next 3 years? You just want relief short term? Or do you want to just, make
with
things
inflation where it is, I'm sure everybody would like
a lot of people are saying that rates are going to come down, and whether that will happen to the point where they think, who knows? But do you think it will? Then great, maybe just do the short term buy down and utilize all that cash. But it is kind of both sides. It's kind of betting against the market. Do you think that rates are going to, stay the same or increase over the next 30 years?
It's your sentiment, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Where do you think we're headed? Do you think rates are coming down? If you do a 2-to-1 buy down, because then you're still capturing this bucket. If you're like, I think we're going to be at 6% for the next 5 to 10 years, do a permanent rate buy down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or if you know that, you have more income coming in the next 2 years, you are in a certain industry where there's obviously going to be a big pay raise once you have more,
bingo,
more time in the industry or whatever, do the temporary and then whatever, it'll go out. So,
and the beautiful part about seller concessions is there's not really a wrong way to use it, right? It's just what's best for your situation. Is it bringing less money to closing? Is it getting bigger relief for a shorter period of time? Or is it just playing the safe route and just reducing your rate? But there's not like, hey, this is the best option. It's total preference, right?
Totally.
What's the most important thing to you out of those three? But the really important thing is go after it because it's there. And seller, when you and I are preparing listings, I tell my sellers, I'm sure you do too, hey, be ready. Chances are someone's going to ask for seller concessions. And setting that expectation, a lot of sellers already have that expectation of, hey, with rates being where they are, and people just needing some more financial help.
Earlier this year, we had we've got a market specialist that comes in at First American Title, and she was saying that that over 60% of transactions that had closed, I think this was back in April, were having some form of concession.
Sure,
that's a lot.
They're out there. Get them.
Well, let's talk about why they're out there.
Right.
We've talked about at the beginning where prices are higher, interest rates have raised, so you have this affordability that's low.
Right.
Because of that, you've got a lot of buyers on the fence that are like, I just want to wait to see what happens. And so what that is saying, it's just basic economics. You have the buyers, aka the demand, that is on the fence, that is hit timeout, hit pause.
Right.
And then you have the supply, aka the inventory on the market, all of these sellers who are building up. You said there was a 300% increase in supply in houses on the market year over year. So you have all these sellers that are just sitting 30 days, 60 days, 120 days. I just put an offer on a home that was on for 200 plus days the other day. These are sellers who are incredibly motivated and they want to make something happen.
Right.
We saw prices skyrocket. In the 2019 to mid 2022.
And why did they skyrocket?
Demand
and lower interest rates, buying power increase.
Affordability was whatever it is, high, and there was a ton of demand with buyers and not enough supply. So there's so much competition.
Totally.
But it's the opposite now. So there are opportunities to get to not only get prices lower if you want prices lower, or to get concessions for closing costs or buy downs or any of these other things that you want. There are opportunities out there galore.
Right. And along those lines, if you're like, if you were prepared to spend that money anyways, and now you get a concession, you could look at it as, we're getting this new house, but there's a couple things we'd want to change. Holy crap, we just had $10,000 free up in stuff we can do to the house now. Because the tides have turned a little bit, and I would say for the better, because we weren't sustainable with having low inventory for as long as we have. It's nice that buyers now don't feel the pressure of like, hey, I saw a house, I have to write an offer immediately. You can think about it and you can look at a couple different houses and maybe go back and see it 2 or 3 times before you can make an offer. It's not
have to waive your inspection or do all these crazy things.
You have luxury of time. You have the luxury of leverage.
Yes.
I wouldn't quite call it a full buyer's market yet. I'd still say it's pretty balanced because the houses that are priced right and are really nice, they're selling. But you definitely have more leverage than you did the past 3 or 4 years.
It definitely turns into a buyer's market when you go and you find all the properties in the city that you like that have been on for 90 plus days. Boom. There you go.
There's your buyer's market.
Now, the moments, and just to be clear here, there are moments where even though it's been on the market forever, there's a ton of people in the market that are trying to sell homes that bought it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They have no equity. They do not have the money to come out of pocket to close on the home. And so they're literally like, I had
short sales.
Short sales are coming.
We get a whole another thing.
I've had in Castle Rock, there was 2 perfect homes for these out-of-state buyers of mine, and we put offers on both, and they said, hey, we'd love to give you the 10,000 concessions if we could.
Just don't have it.
We literally do not have it. We do not have it. We are already, as it is, are bringing 30,000 to the table to close because we need to move. So those just because it's been on the market a long time doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean that the seller always will have the availability. But if it's been on the market, or the ability rather to do the concessions or to get aggressive with those. But
Right.
but those often you can get pretty crafty on those ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, there's a pretty common phrase out there that I think is pretty applicable to all of this, which is date the rate, marry the house.
Yes.
That strategy. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I mean, get the house while you can get it for a better deal, right? You're not going to be able to really control changing the situation of a specific property. It could sell, it could, there's a lot of variance there. So if you find the house that you want, and it's like, hey, this is going to be our house for the next 5 to 7 years. This is where I want to be. Yeah, the interest rate's a little higher. You can change the interest rate once you have the house, right? 2 years from now, if interest rates drop 1%, you can refinance. And you can try and get rid of mortgage insurance at that time. You'll be saving money. There's a lot of variables that you can and can't control. You can't control whether that house is going to be available 2 years from now when the interest rates are lower. Chances are it won't be there.
Right.
So get the house right now. If you know that's the house you want, give it a year or two, refinance, and then reduce your payment.
Yep. Get this. So if you see the house that you love and you could be there for a long time, like you said, and you can get a deal on it.
Yeah.
Like if we can build in a very thick concession, or get a good chunk knocked off the price, why not? Do it now. Because as soon as let's pretend it's it's the middle of 2026 and rates come down to 5.5.
Yep.
What's going to happen? I mean, it's going to explode again.
It is.
There's so much pent up demand.
100%.
So many buyers on the fence just waiting to see a 5 or a low 5 in the
which is funny because everybody's like, oh, well, I'm waiting for lower rates. But when lower rates come, the prices go up. So your affordability is going to be more or less the same. And I mean, it's not going to happen immediately, right? If you time it up perfectly, I guess it could work. But that's also assuming that the right house is there for you at that time.
There's a lot more risks to pushing it off.
Exactly. So if you can get the house for a better deal, especially going into the winter when things really slow down, the kiddos are in school. Nobody wants to move when it's cold out. You have
Holidays
a lot of
are busy.
Holidays, 100%. I mean, you just have a lot more leverage, even in the wintertime. Usually there's less houses for sale in the winter. We're on an odd year after having so much, so much lack of houses over the past 4 years that now you actually have a lot of things to choose from. And we're also going into a slower season. Sellers are going to become more motivated. You get better deals as a buyer.
There's going to be a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And I think, so I for sure, it looks like those deals and those motivated sellers are going to continue throughout the end of 2025. And honestly, probably throughout most, if not all of 2026.
I agree.
And so the deals are going to be there. If you can find a house in the wintertime in the next few months that is a good fit, that you can get a solid deal on, get the concessions you need, get the price you need, do it. Because the moment
100%.
that rates come down and you can refinance, you're going to wish that you did.
100%.
Because all of a sudden you're going to be competing with multiple offers, higher prices, sure, lower rates. But it's a lot trickier to buy a home when there's 5 other people that want to buy that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you might end up overpaying. If you're competing, you might end up quote unquote overpaying, right? I always tell people a house is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. But if you can get it now without the competition of other buyers, you'll get a better deal and you're going to get it at a lower price. And then when the time rolls around, when the interest rates come back down, which I anticipate they'll come back down somewhere between 4.5 and 5%. That's what it was pre-COVID. That was pretty steady there for a while. And then COVID happened and they started buying a bunch of mortgage-backed securities, artificially deflating the interest rate. That's a whole nother topic. As to why interest rates were in the 3s. And I can probably talk about why they won't ever be there again. But
so if you're waiting for it to be in the 2s or 3s again,
good luck.
You probably, we might never see that again.
Well, let's touch on that real quick. The whole reason why the interest rates got down to the 2s and 3s is because the government was spending millions and millions, probably even billions of dollars every single week buying these mortgage-backed securities. They were artificially pulling this interest rate down. And then all of a sudden, they said, we're not going to buy them anymore. Stop buying them. Interest rates shot up. And that's when we hit 8. Because if you hold something down for long enough and you don't let it be part of this free market and you're just artificially holding it down, when you let it go, it's going to pop up and then eventually come back down to the middle ground.
That was a really cool example. I was just picturing you holding a rubber.
Exactly. If you let it go, it's going to shoot up. So unless the government, which I don't anticipate seeing them spend millions and millions, if not billions of dollars on mortgage-backed securities for a while, if not ever, because it ended poorly. It was a short-term Band-Aid. And it's like putting a Band-Aid on a leak, right? Eventually, the water pressure is just going to blow the Band-Aid off.
Got to fix it at the source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100% agree. That's great.
Yeah.
And so just think about it. In the meantime, as you're kind of considering, do I buy? I've been scared to buy. It's not affordable time to buy. Well, there's things that we can do to get around that.
Right.
Concessions. Think about the costs that you would have otherwise. What are you going to be doing now if you don't buy? Probably renting. And that's just, I always tell people renting is like 100% interest rate. 100% of your money goes away as opposed to.
I always just call it flushing your money down the toilet, but
someone else is, yes. Well, someone else gets to take that money from the toilet and put it in their pockets. So
and they get to pay off their loan.
Yes. Yeah. So in the meantime, if you can get in the market, your foot in the door, or if you've already been in the market, but you need to make a change for one reason or another, I bought a home last year, and I think it's follow the real estate agents.
Yeah.
If they're buying, or mortgage brokers. I know tons that have bought homes recently.
Yeah.
If they feel that it's a good time because the deals are there, then it's probably a good sign. And think about the costs. You're missing out on equity. You're missing it. You're paying rent. There's all these opportunity costs that you're going to have regardless. So.
I always look at it threefold, right? So with buying a house, you are, one, paying principal every single month. So you're getting part of your equity in your home every single time you make a payment. With rent, again, you're just throwing it down the toilet. You're not getting anything back by handing someone money. Pay your mortgage, you get principal. That's number one, how you get equity back. Two, time, right? As the average, I think over 10 years, average growth for home values is about 5% every single year on a 10-year average, right? You're going to have good years and bad years, but over 10 years, about 5% equity that you're going to get. So you're getting 5%. You're also paying down your principal. You can write off your interest when it comes to tax time. Do you want to pay less in taxes? I do. I'm sure everybody does. You can write off the interest that you pay on your mortgage when it comes to tax season. And then four, if you end up renting it, you are using someone else's money to buy your principal. You're getting equity over time, and you can still write off that interest.
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but if you own real estate, and especially if you want to get into having multiple properties and renting them, you hold them for 20 years, have someone else pay your interest and buy down your principal. I mean, that's how people, that's why real estate is the cheat code to wealth. It's just not instant. It's not instant gratification, but
nor should it be. Nor should it be. If it was, then it wouldn't be as good as it is.
100%.
Any get-rich-quick scheme eventually flops on its head.
Exactly.
Because everyone hops on it and it doesn't work. But this is historically proven to work.
It is.
Buy the house. Live in the house. Hold on to the house. Sell it when you need to sell it, or keep it and rent it. Build it up. Build up a portfolio and go.
And then you can get into more of the, expert strategies with 1031 exchanges and avoid paying capital gains. I mean, there's just once you have one and you want to get more, if that's your goal is to, play Monopoly and just, get a bunch of properties over time. I mean, then you can really get into some fun stuff in terms of, finding loopholes and, gray areas, within the lending world, which, again, is a whole nother day.
Totally.
There's a lot you can do once you have one. Getting your first one's the toughest. From there, it's just leveraging what you have.
Getting the first one's the toughest, and I would also say that it is also incredibly tough to let go of one that has a 2 or 3% interest rate.
I have one right now, and I can't give myself to sell it.
Yeah, and I get it. I get it. But think, like, if you have life changes where you have more kids, or you have less kids, or you have too many stairs and you need to down, like, there's so many reasons. Don't make your life worse because you want to hold on to an interest rate. If 100%. You have a reason to move, this is a good market right now to where you can get good deals and make it worth it and still make it a good, real estate is real estate.
Absolutely.
Don't go, pay $200,000 over what the house should be, but ultimately you can go get good deals right now and make it worth trading out that interest rate.
Yep. Absolutely.
So a couple other things that we'll just touch on. I'm just going to, because the meat of this podcast is how can you buy a home in a low affordability market when affordability is tough. A couple things to just think about. We're not going to dive into them deeply, but improve your credit score. If your credit score is low, work on paying off some debt or doing some things.
And there's a lot of credit specialists too.
And they're incredible.
I mean, they can literally look at your report and say, hey, if you want to get it up 50 points in 3 months, do this, 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 and this.
And they're going to charge you money, but they're Listen, that's going to cost money.
100%.
But if you can get a mortgage that all of a sudden has a better interest rate that saves you $100 a month,
You're paying that back in 2-3 months.
So quick.
Easy.
So improve your credit score.
Yeah.
Maybe save up a little bit more money for a higher down payment. Or instead, maybe maybe you have the money, you just weren't planning on putting that much down, maybe put more down. Less loan.
Yeah.
Less, your monthly payments are obviously
absolutely.
There's different lower, there's certain programs out there that offer lower rates. You might consider an FHA loan where maybe you wouldn't have otherwise, or if you qualify for VA, I mean, definitely.
If you qualify for VA, do a VA loan.
And if you don't know what that means, but you are a veteran, you need to talk to us.
Talk to us. Because
it's amazing.
My gosh, I thought about joining the armed services just for VA.
Just to get the VA.
Because it is just...
The rates, the benefits,
it's fantastic. Yes. And refinances are quicker. The interest rate reduction loans. Oh, yeah. And that's a whole nother thing too.
Totally. Yeah, totally. But something that we will dive into on another one.
Yeah.
There might be other local grants or things, but
yeah. First time
and if the affordability thing isn't necessarily a monthly payment issue, but it's I don't have that much money on hand right now, but I'm ready with my payments.
Yep.
Maybe consider a down payment assistance program.
And there is a way where you can buy a house with $1,000.
There is.
And it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
It is not necessarily the best. If you have money, I would say try and go conventional.
Avoid it if you can.
But yeah, avoid it if you can. There's this I want to touch on this real quick. There's a stigma with first-time homebuyer loans where if you're a first-time homebuyer, you have to do a first-time homebuyer loan. It's not always the case. They've kind of coined it first-time homebuyers loans because it's for a very select group of people. But if you have enough to at least put 3% down, I would say try and avoid it. Your mortgage insurance will be less. It's easier to refinance. But if you're like, hey, we really want a house, we don't have a lot of money, this is what you do. This is the first-time homebuyer's loan that you should do. If you don't have this nest egg, this ton of cash, and you have, $5,000, but you want to buy a house, it's doable. You have to know which house to go for. That'll give you the concessions to cover the closing costs. But I mean, there's options there.
There are.
And that's kind of the tagline is you can buy a house for $1,000.
You can.
Yeah.
Your interest rate's going to be higher. There's no such thing as free money.
Right.
But it's doable. If you need to get in the market and you see the value of just getting in and then working through it after that, then there's 100% ways to do it. So that's how you can navigate. There's very specifics. We're not going to go into the crazy specific program.
So we could do a whole nother podcast on that.
Just two other small things here, and then we'll get into the Houses of Horrors section and loop this in. Maybe consider, maybe you have a certain city or neighborhood that you really want to move into.
Yeah.
Maybe consider starting off or moving to one that's not as expensive.
Right.
If you really, really want to be in, the Platt Park neighborhood in Denver or in Castle Pines, maybe get a home somewhere else that's cheaper.
Yeah.
Maybe go in Littleton or some other, Centennial or some other just section of the neighborhood that's cheaper.
Yeah.
And then stepping stone it. Use that as a stepping stone. Live in that for a few years, leverage that out. And the same thing with, maybe you want to get a single family home, a detached home.
Yeah.
But maybe you buy attached first.
Right.
Maybe you get a condo or a townhome first, and then you work your way. Use that as stepping stone. Use that as leverage later on to get into a bigger, better home.
Absolutely.
That you could live in for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, that wraps up. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of meat and potatoes in there, for sure.
That is a meaty podcast. Let's wrap it up.
Yes.
Let's go over the Houses of Horror section here.
All right.
Like I teased at the beginning, mine's literally happening right now. I just saw the money leave my bank account.
Well, at least it's Friday.
Yeah, that's Friday. Whatever. So yeah, it's one of those situations. I help a lot of people from out of state move in, and some things that I really like doing is, hey, you've got so much going on. Let me help. Yeah. You want to paint. You want to have the handyman come out or HVAC or whatever. Like, I can help coordinate that.
And that's why you're one of the best agents in Denver.
I know a lot of
people
don't.
Go above and beyond.
Yeah, they tune out. Like they get their check, they get paid for helping someone buy a home, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
I like to just help as much as I can. So we've got a great list of vendors with the Griffith Home Team of people that we've used, our clients have used, our teammates have used a lot that are excellent. And I've got an excellent painter. And I made a mistake where I sent out the painter and I mixed up the colors. I sent a text on 10/8. I just looked at it, October 8th, and it said, hey, we want this color as the primary color, and then the new owners want this color as the secondary color.
Right.
I mixed them up. So the house is painted now.
Yep.
3 coats.
Yep.
The issue is, if I can justify this at all, we did after October 8th.
Yeah.
We did on the 10th, 2 days after, go and walk the property with the owners.
Right.
And they actually corrected my mistake.
Yeah.
And so, but the painter wasn't there to like necessarily, he didn't realize that there was a correction that needed to be made. So it is what it is. It happens.
Yeah.
Is the end of the story. The nightmare is I did make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's right there. And I'm not going to lie about that. And I'm not going to expect my, the new owners to have to pay for that. So
everybody makes mistakes. But if you own it and you are there for your clients, that's the sign that of really good integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I thought I've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But
I mean,
that's good on
switched up literally 2 different names of paint in one text. And I could sit there all day and say, yeah, but literally the day after we walked the property again, and you should have taken notes and you should have done this, this, and this. The painter probably made a mistake too. Ultimately, he's helping out by coming down significantly in how much it cost him in labor, and I'm helping out by correcting the cost of the land on
and that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's nice about having vendors that we work with frequently that are, good, honest people too. They're good, recognize a mistake also, and they'll work with you on that. So.
Stuff happens. Doesn't mean it's not a nightmare, and doesn't mean that the true nightmare is going to have to explain to my wife why $3,000 is left the bank account.
Oh, that is the true nightmare. Business expense.
I actually talked to her about it on the way out, and she saw how stressed I was about it and how she was super nice about it. It's fine. It could have been much worse. It actually is probably more worth $10,000.
Right.
The work that it's going to take, so it's all good.
Good.
But anyways.
Oh boy.
You kick us off here and finish off with your. Is that battery down?
Okay.
That's a good transition.
That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I'll try and go through mine quick. It's a whole thing.
Okay. Yep. All right, so that wraps up my Houses of Horror story. Why don't you send us off?
My House is a Horror. All right. Yeah. So like I said, it's kind of fitting that I chose this one because it's twofold. It's both lending and then it's also me getting my hands dirty.
Okay.
So normal purchase, a new townhome, first time home buyers are about to have a baby, they're really excited. We got through all the inspection stuff. We're about 2 days from closing. And, I reach out to the lender and I'm like, hey, did we get all the final figures over? Are we ready to close in 2 days? And they said, no. What?
Just no.
I was like, what do you mean no? They're like, oh yeah, no, we're not ready. Mind you, my clients, they chose to go in a different direction than the people that I recommended, which
this is your go-to.
This is not my go-to lender, and it will never be a lender I ever try and use ever again.
Which, by the way, it's very listen to your agent.
Listen to your agent, or at least go with someone, from the lending side that people that have used them, that have trusted them, that they're good. Like, do your due diligence with lenders because they really can screw you. Yes. It can happen. So essentially, earnest money is on the line. There's $5,000 in earnest money on the line. I immediately call the listing agent. I'm like, hey, I don't know what happened. The lender just said, hey, we're not ready. And when I reached out to him to say, hey, why are we not ready? He said, oh, well, the first time we reached out, it didn't feel like anybody wanted to talk to us. So we just didn't tell anybody. I'm like, are we children? What do you mean? Nobody wanted to talk to you. What are you talking about? We've been communicating this whole time. He's like, yeah, I just kind of got the feeling that no one wanted to talk to me.
So you haven't been doing your job?
No, he didn't do his job. Yeah. So anyways, I talked to this agent. I'm like, look, we're trying to get this sorted. Can you please just give us a little more time?
Need an extension here.
These guys really want the house. Just give us a little extension so I can figure out what the heck is going on and what we need to do.
Yeah.
Turns out they didn't do the appraisal.
Oh, there's no appraisal even done.
No appraisal even done. Okay. So that was the problem. So we said, hey, give us till next Friday. We'll get the appraisal done. We'll get it back through everything. We'll rush it. We'll be good to go. So he's like, yeah, okay, we'll make that happen. So, coming on the next week, I'm reaching out. Hey, we schedule the appraisal? Yeah, Monday. Yeah, we'll schedule it. Monday comes along. I'm like, oh, he's actually not going to get out there till Tuesday. Wednesday rolls along and they're like, yeah, no, we still haven't been out there. I'm like, you need to get somebody over there ASAP. We're supposed to close on Friday. We're already a week out from when we were supposed to close and you guys haven't ordered the appraisal? Who is screwing this up? They finally get someone out for the appraisal and they said, hey, there are these metal bars, security bars over the windows. And I understand there's a door next to both of them, but because there's bars on the windows, we can't pass this. And I'm like, but you have an exit point right next to it. They're like, sorry. So I'm like, you know what? I called the listing agent. I'm like, we need these bars off. He's like, hey, I'm not around. You're going to have to do it. I'm like, all right, time to roll up the sleeves. I'm taking this in my own hands. I went to Home Depot. I bought like an industrial grinder. I went over to this house and I just started grinding these bars off the window.
Oh my God.
Finally got the bars off, call back the lender. I'm like, hey, the bars are off. Give us approval. They're like, all right, well, we need to send someone back out there.
Yeah.
They come back out. They're like, hey, there's a little window 2 feet over the kitchen sink. Person can't even fit out of it.
No.
There's still bars on the outside of that. I was like, we grab my trusty grinder. It looks like I'm going back out. So went back twice to grind bars off of windows. And we finally got it to the closing table the following Tuesday because the lender still had to push it out a few more days.
Oh my
gosh. It was a nightmare. My clients were eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I try and create raving fans, not just do my job, but go above and beyond like you do as well.
Yeah.
But the lender completely screwed us on that front, and I had to play cleanup, which is not a fun role for me to be in. So
is hilarious.
Yes,
Glad
it was a trusted lender. Me too. They're thrilled, and they finally have their first house and have the baby,
and they bought during this probably market.
Bought during this market.
Do they have concessions?
Sure did.
I bet they did.
$10,000.
Yeah, baby. Well, that is awesome,
Yes.
Ryan. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
We'll get you on
Yeah.
here.
All right.
This is too fun.
I'd love to be back.
Yeah.
Part 2.
In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.